Welcome to today's deep dive into the terrifying and mind-bending film that is dropped released in the year 2025. And the film is directed by Christopher Landon, which is known for blending horror with emotional depth. In today's video, in today's breakdown, we will walk through the entire story that is scene by scene and unpacking the major plot twist and giving the special attention to the mysterious character of Violet Gates. So in the very first part of the film, we see that there is actually a kind of you can say the murder is going on between the two characters that we see, and later we come to know that who these characters are when the story is in final, or we can say in the climax mode. At the starting, a very cheap, very upscale restaurant at Chicago skyscraper called as Palette is buzzing with city lights that is present below, and we are introduced to the characters of Violet Gates. And Violet Gates is played by Megan Fahey, and she is a widowed therapist with past trauma, and she is hopeful yet anxious about returning to dating. And then there is Henry Campbell, which is played by Brandon Skellner, and he's very charming, understanding photographer, and they met via a dating app. Then we see Violet arrives with her sister Jen, gets played by Violet Bean, and their young son Toby. So they just stays at home. So the warm start for the movie with a light conversation and shared smile and a little joyful and atmosphere amongst them, an optimistic moment that is rooted in Violet's past trauma and her new beginnings. We see minutes into the date, and we see the Violet phone just buzzes with strange digi drops, like the airdrop we see containing some innocent memes, and she dismisses them, but their volume actually increases as the film proceeds further. The first hint that this is kind of a targeted attack, a modern twist, I guess, on a horror rooted in digital instruction. So as this thing just goes on, Violet just becomes uncomfortable, sensing that she is being watched or stalked. So when Henry finally arrives, very charming and well-spoken dude, you can say, and she tries to push down the paranoia, but her instincts are just already on a very high or alert mode. As we see the dinner progresses, the meme just evolves into a direct messages through the app that is DigiDrop, and that is a peer-to-peer platform like AirDrop. And one message shows a live feed of her living room, and Violet blood runs cold because that is her son Toby and sister Jen are home, and someone is just watching them. Then another message follows that don't say a word or else they die. So Violet just freezes in mid-conversation, pretending to smile through rising terror, and she tries to excuse herself without alarming Henry and slips into bathroom to call Jen, but there is no answer, and she takes frantically that her anxiety mounts as she realizes the threat is real, and she's being just forced to participate in a very twisted digital game that is playing. So Violet returns to the table again, and her phone buzzes again, and she's instructed to search Henry's bag and remove a small flash drive from his camera. And the implication is clear actually, the refusal because puts her loved ones at risk. So she just think about that, and so she fakes her dropped napkin and does as told. Now Henry begins to notice her erratic behavior and asks if she's okay or comfortable with him or not, and Violet covers poorly, saying that she's feeling kind of not so well. She tries to alert a waitress subtly, but new message appears instantly that nice try, one more move like that and the kid just dies. So the restaurant becomes a silent prison, and every face just seems suspicious. In one of the center, her sense of reality just begins to crack. We see as the tension mounts, as the tension increases in the film, Violet is ordered to take a small vial of poison from a coat in the cloakroom and use it on the Henry's string. So that is the plan, and her hands just tremble as she makes the switch. Then changes her mind, and she spills the drink accidentally, buying time, but receives a very harsh message that is last warning. And Henry grows suspicious again and gently presses her for answer, and clearly sensing something is just off. Meanwhile, Violet starts to piece together that isn't a random act of cruelty, but someone knows her and her past. The pressure is just unbearable as she goes to the restroom again and breaks down, sobbing quietly in the stall. But actually there is no time to stop, and the game is still on. She returned to the dining area trying to discreetly shift the danger, and she slips the poison into nearby drink that is meant for another patron, Phil. That is the pianist actually, who has been just making odd glances all night. That is kind of weird for a pianist to do. So seconds later, Phil collapses, and so the restaurant just erupts in chaos as there is chaos. There is a mess all around. That what the hell just happened to him? A few guests just rushes to help while others panic, and we see that Henry leaps into action, but Violet stays back, and horrified by what she has done. Her phone vibrates. That good now. You know you are serious, and this is no longer a test, and it's an execution. The situation has escalated beyond her control. So the real target she suspects might not be her at all. With Phil dead, now the thing just begins to lift. That what is all behind this, or who is just behind this, or what kind of intention he's having. And Violet is ordered to confront Henry and demand answer. She presses him about his past, what he's hiding, just trying to know indirectly. And Henry finally admits that he is not a photographer, and he has been investigating corruption linked to the city's mayor, and he has gathered damning evidences about him. Suddenly, another guest, that is Richard, reveals himself as a part of conspiracy, and he is working to silence Henry, using Violet as a very perfect scapegoat, and by manipulating Violet's tragic story and her trauma. The conspirator just plans to make her look like an unstable, jealous killer, and Violet is stunned, but she is not broken. And so we see that Violet and Henry just flee through the back of the restaurant on the rooftop, and pursued by Richard and masked enforcer. The glassy terrace just becomes the battleground for this all kind of messy things, and Henry is shot in the side during the scuffle, and Violet wrestles the gun away from the attacker. As the fight intensifies, she manages to shoot Richard straight away, sending him flying through the rooftop, that is railing in a cinematic slow motion fall. The masked man lunges again, but we see that Violet just turns the gun on him and ends it. Rain begins to fall as she holds Henry in a trembling mode. We see that siren just fell in the distance so far, and the nightmare seems over. But they both know there's just unfinished business right there. Still wounded, still hurt, and not in a very well condition, Henry helps Violet rush home, and fearing for Toby and Jane. When they arrive to find the front door is open, and inside we see Jane is bleeding and have been attacked by another enforcer. Toby is hiding upstairs in a locked closet, and another masked attacker appears, but this time Violet just doesn't hesitate, and she gathers courage and she tries to retaliate. She fights him off fiercely, protecting her son with raw and maternal rage. She shoots the attacker and saving her family once again. As the dust settles, Violet just cradles Toby and weeping. Jane is alive if injured, and Henry calls for help. The home that once symbolized safety has become a battleground, and yet they are still standing. In the hospital, we see that Violet sits by Henry's bed, and he is recovering, and so is Jen. And Toby draws superheroes on his sketch pad that is smiling all time. And news report reveal the mayor's resignation and unveiling of the digital blackmail ring, or the digital blackmail scam, or whatever that was taking place. And that was the actual story, or that was the reason responsible for manipulating Violet. Her story is trending online that survivor turns savior. But Violet isn't celebrating. She stares at her phone and the source for all her terror. And in final act of defiance, she just deletes the drop, tosses her phone on the bed, and hugs Toby very tightly. So no technology can ever replace her instincts as a mother. And but as they leave, a new device buzzes in her purse. So we see right back at the home, life just slowly resumes, and Violet decorates the house with the Toby's drawing, and Jen, now on crutches, jokes about moving in permanently. They try to enjoy dinner, laughing quietly for the first time in what feels like years. And Henry visits, that is flowers in hand, and they share quite grateful moments on the porch as the night falls and the house grows still. Violet expression shifts. She checks the new phone in the drawer. There is no notification, just a reflection in the black screen. She turns it off, or thinks she does, across the room, and the smart speaker light up, "Hello, Violet." The screen cuts to black, the flickers with a new drop interference at someone new has just accessed her location. So you can understand this is all ongoing cycle, and this is all about the movies so far. She takes a deep breath after that and walks towards it, and no fear this time because she has encountered similar kind of thing previously, just resolve, and she knows how to fight back such things. And a single sound plays, and then there is silence. And in this way, the movie ends. So the movie is actually good, and at the start of the movie, you don't get idea that what's the movie about. But if you watch the trailer, you can get a subtle idea about what's the movie. You can typically consider it as a serial killer based movie that we need to find who is the killer in the movie, and the first and foremost doubt of absolutely goes towards Henry because he's the usual suspect in this film. But later we come to know that he's just not the one who is killing or who is just behind the blackmailing our protagonist, the female protagonist character, Violet. And then there's the mayor, which is just behind all this heinous act of just blackmailing and stalking Violet. So I think it's very intense, original, and emotionally satisfying at many of the times, and making it. So I personally feel the ending of the movie, which actually showed the real horror. That isn't just a rogue app, but it's the digital permanence of a trauma. And Violet deleted the app, but the system is actually still out there. It's a network, not a single hacker or not a single file. The final drop is not just another file, and it's a reminder that she's still watched and still a target. And from the beginning, we see that Violet was portrayed as a traumatized woman, unsure of her sanity. But the ending confirms her that her instincts were actually right, and surveillance culture, peer-to-peer tech, and the faceless threats are just real dangers. They are no funny things to be messed with, and she was never imagining it. The shifts the theme from trauma victim in recovery to survivor in a world that will never be safe. And though he helps Violet and exposes the corruption, Henry may still be, I guess, connected to the system because some fans just theorize that his camera, his flash drive, and the interest in Violet were never coincidence. Or was he being just used to, or he's a part of something more deeper? So the ending leaves the ambiguous kind of a ending, and it's on purpose, I guess. So is Violet safe now? That's the big question right at the ending of the film, and it depends on the perspective. I feel that she's not actually that safe, and deep down she even knows it because the ending of the final drop is not just a jump scare; it's a narrative reset. As Violet survived round one, but someone out there, maybe the creator of the Digidrop or maybe another puppet master, has just restarted the game again. And so I guess this is just a beginning of something new. So the movie is actually good, and I would say it's a decent movie, and it's definitely a one-time watchable film. And uh, it's a very straight line story. There's nothing kind of a twist or something coming, except that who is the killer or who is just traumatizing or blackmailing the female protagonist Violet. Just that thing, and that's all about the movie. And one more thing, if I talk about the movie, what makes the movie great, because the direction by Landon, actually, the director, is just focused on stripped down and darker than his usual horror comedy tone we see, delivering a very lean and tense story that unfolds almost in real time. So the pacing is very tight, very neat, and up to the mark. And cinematography is just claustrophobic, and the sound design is just sharp and settling. If you're into the smart, I guess, modern horror with a grounded premise and emotional depth, Drop is, I guess, a must-watch film. It's not just scary, but it's uncomfortable at many of the time. So if you like such review, please subscribe and like that. Please subscribe our YouTube channel and like this video. Thank you for watching.